Pain heals, chicks dig scars, and glory lasts forever. Not a cell phone in sight, just people living in the moment. If you know what happens next, drop it in the comments. I will hit you so hard that words describing the impact will appear out of thin air. I grew up in an era where you had to go to Channel 3 to play video games. You know you're getting old when it feels like the morning after, but there was no night before. Among the many curiosities of the 70s was our persistent need to fool people into believing that our vehicles were, at least partly, made of wood. Yep, they had wood paneling. Just like everything else back in the 70s and 80s had wood paneling. I was today years old when I found out if you're not there, you're square. Because you're not around. I told that teaching lady, the only crayons I need are red, white, and blue. Casually eating popcorn out of the bowl me and all my siblings have projectile vomited in throughout our childhood. We all know exactly what this person's talking about, and I'd say the majority of us still have this bowl. I'm offended. You can't say that. No, I can, I did, and I probably will again. Time Magazine, 1956. Teaching lead dispenser safety in the classroom. Back when kids were still taught lead dispenser safety instead of being taught to be scared of them. I know this particular meme is actually for all you boomers, but it still holds true for Gen X nonetheless. And now, there might possibly still be some hope yet. Public school students in Tennessee could soon be required to take lead dispenser safety courses. I just wanted to share at least this one little piece of good news. Can you guess this movie? Drop your answers in the comments. Stolen glass bottles tasted the best. If you agree with this statement, hit that like button. The keys are in the ignition. You can only take one. Which one do you take? Well, it's as I mentioned in past episodes. If the DeLorean is the actual time machine, obviously everyone's going to choose that. However, for the sake of this meme, we're going to assume that the DeLorean is just a movie prop car. So with that in mind, what car would you choose? I'll be honest, I still like the DeLorean. However, if I had to pick one, I'd go with the '69 Charger. You know you failed if your teacher handed your paper back like this. Yep, certainly did. The only reason to even look at it is to see just how badly did you fail. For me, I wonder what our kids will look like. Fact check true. When I was a kid, I used to think that these were special seats for sitting in the back of the truck. Well, they were. I was today years old when I found out Chuck E. Cheese's full name is Charles Entertainment Cheese. I knew that a long time ago. But there used to be some other rumors. Which ones do you guys remember? How old were you when you found out the voices for Mufasa and Sarebai were also played by the King and Queen of Zamunda in Coming to America? Well, I knew that Darth Vader did Mufasa's voice. His voice is unmistakable. But I didn't know that she done Sarebai's voice. The kids who are eating Tide Pods are now old enough to drive. And just think, you're driving next to them on the interstate. The most difficult decision: trying to figure out which blockbuster movie to rent. It's sad that kids today will never feel the joy of the greatest school supply of all time. One of the best 80s films ever made. Have you guys heard that Lethal Weapon 5 is supposed to come out sometime in 2024? I saw something about it recently, but didn't look into the details to see if there was any specific dates. Autocorrect makes me say things I did in Nintendo. It's very true. I was today years old when I found out when someone says, "Hold your horses," they're telling me to be stable. How many of you guys knew this? Like if you know this place. True fans will share it in the comments below. Here's another advertisement I came across for the Star Wars edition New Blue Milk from True Moo. On the past episode, when I showed that other advertisement, you guys had some good answers about where blue milk comes from. Oh, so you're the one that took all our jobs. Those and a lot more. All of our phones also do a lot of undercover work for multiple government alphabet agencies. And that is just a fact. Please keep on the grass. Lie down, roll around in it, forget all your responsibilities, have an ice cream. Yeah, these days, they actually have to tell the kids to go touch grass. Every time you don't tip, a child gets a mullet. Help children like these. Don't give a tip. Help make mullets great again. If you are under a certain age, let me assure you this apple pie was served at the surface temperature of the planet Mercury. Yep, and they were deep fried too. How old were you when you realized Mario from Mario Brothers' full name is Mario? I do know this, but I can't remember how old I was when I first figured it out. And my question still is why? And also, does this make Luigi Mario? How many of you guys knew this? And if so, did you ever think about Luigi's full name? Me remembering a time when I didn't have to grunt every time I sat down or stood up. Yeah, no kidding. Or when it takes you 5 minutes before you can fully stand straight and walk normally. Lies. I agree. None of those ever open like they're supposed to. Name a popular 80s movie you have actually never seen. As far as I can remember, I don't think I've ever seen The Mannequin. What's some 80s movies that you guys haven't seen? I was born in the wrong generation. I don't want to do schoolwork anymore. Send me to the coal mines. You wouldn't last the first day. On the other hand, that type of work has changed drastically with all the new technology these days. Not saying it's still not hard work, but it's at least a lot less dangerous. And that is a good thing. And Home Alone 2, the dad screams because Kevin spent $967 on room service. But he also abandoned his young son twice. so maybe it's time to shut up. Well, not only did he abandon him, he abandoned him with a credit card. Also, here's something else to think about. Home Alone 2 came out in 1992. If you adjust for inflation, $1 in 1992 equals $2.22 today in 2024. So Kevin spending $967 on room service today would be the equivalent of $2,146. And that is just going by official inflation calculations, which is much lower than the real life inflation numbers that we see each time we go to the grocery store. We keep saying it is what it is, but what is it? Well, it is what it is. Officially reached the age where I can't tell if I sustained an injury or that's just how I am now. Yes, and worse yet, if it is an injury, you can't figure out how you did it. The long-forgotten Glade plugins of the 90s. I guarantee you, there are people who still have these things plugged into a wall for the last 30 years. So much has changed since the 1950s. They were still using these in Gen X too, and they had another version that sat up in the front seat. Respect your parents. They passed school without Google. Yeah, and that's when schools still at least had basic requirements in order to graduate. The sleeping bag my parents sent me to people's houses with at 7 years old. I'm so glad we got to grow up with Robin Williams. What's your guys' favorite Robin Williams movie? Whether it was a regular movie or where he was doing the voice for an animation. Not everyone will get this. 70s and 80s kids will remember. Found some old records in the attic. Don't remember this band, but the album's awful and it totally messed up the record player. My girlfriend. I'm not even that hot. Also my girlfriend. Jeepers Creepers was released in 2001. Remember, he gets the feed every 23 years. Y'all have fun with that. Is 9 p.m. good for you? Me. It's 1987. You've just been dropped off at the mall. What's the first store you're hitting? Radio Shack. When you see a grown man gag gutting a deer. I told my kids, if you can beat this game, I'll buy you a PS5 right now. They have to beat the entire game in 3 tries. I should have got double points for that one. The biggest fear of childhood. How many of you were one of the kids that picked out every single seed because of this? Or were you one of the ones that just ate the seeds? Not because of this reason, but I still pick out most watermelon seeds. Across all countries, cultures, and class, we share one thing. This drawer. I think this is probably true. Then you empty out the drawer, put it all into a box, and just keep the stuff you need. But then you still keep that box, because you can't throw it out, as there might still be something in there that you end up needing. People who don't reply until days later. Why? It's a relatively very new phenomenon that basically anyone in your life gets access to you at all times. It was only 20 years ago that if you left the house for the day, you were actually gone. You'd return messages when you came back hours or even days later. Basically, I prefer this sometimes. Except for a very few people, I prefer this too. Old McDonald's was a fun playland. New McDonald's looks like a prison. I've stated this exact same thing on past videos. The new McDonald's is what a fast food restaurant would look like if it was in a prison. And it looks the same from the outside too. You can't just post a random forehead and expect people to recognize. Never-ending story when I was a kid. Never-ending story as an adult. Yeah, but they forgot the worst part. Taxes and bills. I'm coming dangerously close to the age where I start doing puzzles on the dining room table for recreation. When the Sears family photo is right before the Whitesnake concert. There comes a time in every millennial's life when they realize it's time to throw away the Apple box. Me, I'm gonna start eating healthy. Also me all weekend. Photos of Jake Paul before and after his fight with Mike Tyson. I just thought this one was funny. This is one of the better Paul Tyson memes that I've seen lately. Back in the 90s, you could eat all of this for only $4.25. That'd probably cost you almost $30 right now. Some of you probably know better than I do. I haven't been to Taco Bell in a long time. Which game would you play first? Speaking of the Paul Tyson fight, I'm $400 VCR old. You could always put it on layaway or buy it from Montgomery Ward's on credit. If you know what this is, I'm sorry. I do know what it is. I certainly hope I never need any. I did just have to go to the dentist the other day because I've had a tooth that's bothering me. And not only did I find out I have to have that one pulled, but I've also got some other problems. It's always something. In the 90s, you could say, "Excuse me," instead of "Excuse me," and get a laugh. How many of you millennials remember this? 7-year-old me looking at my mom through the McDonald's play place window when she's saying time to leave. That is a pretty good description. I swear, cats are a liquid. A mom helping her kids beat a hard level in Super Mario Land, 1990s. This is a Renaissance painting. If it was a painting, it'd be better than most of the stuff you see these days. When I fell, nothing would happen to me. I wasn't delicate like you kids. Yep, my phone goes through screen protectors like they're 10 cents a piece. I finally just gave up on them. In October of 1994, Pulp Fiction, Forrest Gump, The Shawshank Redemption, and Jurassic Park were all in theaters at the same time. I wonder if there was anyone that was able to see all 4 movies in one night. Life before the internet. Hey kid, here's some identification you'll need for the rest of your life, but you're not allowed to laminate it. We went ahead and printed it on gas station toilet paper for you. Why is this true? This is ridiculous. I'll be honest, back years ago, I actually did laminate mine, because I didn't notice on the card where it said you're not supposed to. However, I've never had a problem with anyone accepting it. Now, your mileage may vary, so don't take that as advice or anything. In 3rd grade, we had a prison guard do a scared straight speech, and we asked what the prisoners ate. He said, "Nothing good, McDonald's burgers." And when he saw our faces light up, he said, "Yeah, but imagine that 3 times a week." That's when he lost control of the room. I bet he didn't say that anymore. It'd be interesting to know how many of those kids ended up in prison. A 50-year-old airplane in my head. A 50-year-old plane in real life. Nope. I refuse to believe that. It doesn't matter that it's true. Me destroying the family computer with LimeWire. How many of you millennials screwed up the computer so bad that you lost all the files this way? Had to format the hard drive and reinstall everything from scratch. And unlike today, how many of you actually had backups of the files that's on your hard drive? Me, every time I'm out in public. I think Swifties would really appreciate the depth and complexity of one of these. I'm pull down maps old. Yep, back when I had one in every classroom. Here's a question. How many of you guys still keep updated road atlases? Drop it in the comments. Me, when you realize you're officially the old person that hates teenagers in public places. You know what, though? I think we have a right to be. Look how most of this younger generation acts. And even how they treat adults and even the elderly. When we were kids, we might have did some stupid things. But we still had respect for our elders. Whether they were our parents, teachers, or just people working in stores and places that we went to. These days, for a large portion of today's generation, they have no respect for anyone. Our parents used to really drop us off at the skating rink with money and leave. Breaking. Tesla announces new cyberbus. Yeah, that is true. Before I close this video, I wanted to give a special thank you message here. Toward the end of Gen X and Millennials Memes, episode 29, I told everyone that my dad had passed away. And I put that in that video to reply to comments that I was still receiving from people asking about how he was doing and things. Because in one of the previous episodes before that, I had been getting a lot of comments from people asking why I hadn't been posting videos, where have I been, was I okay, those type of things. And I had told all of you that I just hadn't been able to make but a few videos during March and April up to that point, because my dad had been really, really sick. And it was just me and my mom trying to take care of him. And from the time that I put that out, there was a lot of people that sent your well wishes, thoughts, prayers, and things. And I really appreciated that. But in episode 29, I told everyone that he had passed away. At that time, I also asked everyone to please watch and share the videos, because I hadn't been able to get up very many videos during March, April, and up to that point we were almost halfway through May. The views on the channel had dropped substantially. And I just asked everyone to please watch and share the videos, because those things really helped to support the channel as I still have my dad's funeral to pay for. But what I didn't ask for, and never intended, was for anyone to send any money. But shortly after that video was uploaded, some of you guys started using the super thanks button that YouTube has below the video. And that was something that I never expected. And I was very humbled that you guys would want to help out in such a way. And so I want to thank all of my subscribers and viewers, because all of you helped to build the channel. And the more people that views the videos and shares them, the more favorably the YouTube algorithm will look upon the videos and hopefully offer those videos to more people. And by doing so, hopefully we'll build the views back up on the channel to something more like what we were getting back in February. So I want to thank all of my subscribers and all of my viewers for helping to get the channel to start to grow again. But I also wanted to specifically thank each of you who so graciously chose to directly support the channel by sending finances. I know everyone is having a hard time these days, especially with inflation and as high as groceries are and things. And most of us are just trying to get by, paycheck to paycheck. There was also people that had sent comments and messages saying things along the lines of, they wish that they could help, or they were sorry that they couldn't help and things. No. Please don't feel that way at all. Just the fact that you're on here leaving comments, that means you're watching the videos. And that in itself is a great support to the channel. And you are greatly appreciated, and I'm really glad to have all of you here as part of the akornzstash fam. And that's why I only ask people to watch and share the videos, as that helps build the channel, and it gets YouTube to pay for it. Google can afford it. I know that none of us like watching ads, but that's the only way that the majority of channels here on YouTube are even able to exist. In any case, all of you leaving comments, your prayers and well wishes, and even those sending support, all of it means a great deal to me, and I just wanted to say thank you. So with that said, I hope all of you enjoyed the video. Everyone take care and stay safe. This is Akorn, over and out.